busting my balls, Billy, okay?
I can already tell that I don't like you.
Fuck you, bust on my ball.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
It might be your first ball job.
Yeah, of course.
How long did it take for the guy to come?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bustin' Balls. I'm your host, Eric Pennell. I'm here with the very funny Chicago legend, Tim Slagle, huh? Dude, I'm very excited to have you, man.
Irony quotes around legend.
Whatever, you know what I'm saying, man. I mean, no, dude, I was very excited when I was like, oh, I'm gonna get you on there because when I reached out to you a while ago, I was dead serious. Like, I respect your mind, I respect your game and comedy, and if I could get you on, this is like a get for me, man. So seriously. So what's up, dude? How you been, man?
I'm flattered. I'm doing okay.
Yeah?
Still trying to stay on the horse that never wanted me on it in the first place.
Yeah, you feel like comedy's never wanted you on it, huh? Is that what it feels like? Because it feels like that's what I feel like with me. And then I look at you and I go, "There's no like me hearing you say that sounds ridiculous, dude." Because you're a pro. Like you're a pro, and you've been doing this for how many years? I mean, how many years you've been doing comedy? I mean, it's got to be.
I don't like to say it much. I just hit 40. I just hit my
40 years in comedy.
40 years since the first
Dude,
time
I didn't
on
even know.
stage.
I hate to say it. You must have started when you were young then, right?
Yeah, I was pretty young.
How old were you? You were probably like 22. 18?
I think so. 20.
That's crazy, man.
First time on stage was.
Do you even think that you wanted to do comedy at 20 and you knew? Because, dude, if you count 40 years ago, that was a different comedy thing. You know, I mean, clearly.
Oh, it was great.
I mean, it's not like you got YouTube and you got like, Chicago. When I got here probably 13 years ago, there was a bunch of open mics. There was probably one open mic on every night besides one night. There were some nights that had two nights. But 40 years ago, open mics were a different thing. Like stage side. Well, you were in the comedy boom though, right? Or were you hitting it right at the end or were you right in the middle?
Yeah, did you ever go surfing?
No, I've never been surfing.
Okay, there's two ways you can catch a wave. You can catch a wave. The proper way to do it is you're supposed to wait outside the break and wait for it to see the swell coming in, and paddle into the wave as it breaks on the sandbar or reef or whatever kind of break it is. Mm-hmm. That's the proper way to do it. You can also stand just inside the break and wait for that wave to break and then dive into it.
Yeah, right.
That's called shoulder hopping, and you're a loser if you do that.
Yeah,
and that's how I got into comedy.
Really?
I just happened to be on that sandbar when that big wave just built up behind me.
And the big wave is the comedy boom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right place, right time. Ringo Starr, Sid Vicious, and me.
Whoa. And how was that, man? Was it easy to get stage time those days, or like as a new comic? So you're talking like you're 20 years old. Yeah. I mean, did you was it one of those things where you kind of gradually went into it slowly, or was it like, no, I'm 20, I started doing stand up, and then you just attacked it?
It was bam. It was as I did opened for a band at a block party, July 4th, 1979. That was my first set.
That's crazy, dude.
I just bombed.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple open mics around.
What band? What band was that? Was it like because I read you were in punk rock. Was it a punk rock band that you were doing comedy for?
It was kind of new wave. It was
new wave.
Dead Ends, I believe their name was.
And what town was that? Because you're like a Detroit guy, right? Originally,
that was Dearborn, Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it was in a cul-de-sac. It was in the middle of a cul-de-sac.
Holy shit!
And I tanked, but I loved it.
And that was the first time you ever got up.
First time I ever got up. Yeah.
Wow! How you know what's so funny? How the fuck do you book a cul-de-sac? Like, how do you book? Would you go through an agent for that? How do you book a cul-de-sac, dude? Like that's so it's just somebody you knew, like because you were a musician, weren't you?
No, I was not.
I thought I read that you were in the music business or something like that.
Yeah, but again, at that time, you didn't have to be able to play an instrument.
Yeah.
You just
So is that how you kind of booked it? You kind of knew dudes that were like opening, and you go, "Fuck this! I'm now into comedy."
Yeah, there weren't a lot of open mic nights, so that's what a lot of comics would do is they would get gigs opening for bands. Or they'd ask bands if they could go on in between their breaks and stuff like that. So that's what I did. And then a couple open mics started opening around.
Mark Ridley's. You went to Mark Ridley's, huh?
Went to Mark Ridley's.
That's a great club, right?
Leo DeFore's Comedy Corner in Windsor was another one. There was the Wits End in Lansing.
Because Detroit had a bunch of comedy clubs, right? Didn't they have was Chaplin's around then? Probably not, right?
This was way before Chaplin's.
And Joey's was not there. Those are probably like things that popped up in the 90s, early 2000s.
Joey was an open micer at the same time.
Whoa, really? Yeah, that's funny how like there's comics eventually just open up a comedy club and they just go, fuck it, I'm opening up a club.
Yeah, then shortly thereafter, Kirkland Teeples opened the Main Street Comedy Showcase, which is now the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, so it's. I mean, a few places started. I hate to say this, it was so easy back then. I was pro within 3 years.
That's
quit.
crazy. That's
It was
awesome.
like
That is awesome.
1982, I was able
That's
to quit
amazing.
my day job and go on the road.
Yeah. 1982. So
Yeah.
3 years in, you're quitting. You're like a road comic.
3 years from
in
bombing
82.
on the cul-de-sac. Three years from bombing on the cul-de-sac to
And that's when the comedy boom was still strong though in '82, right? I mean, because it didn't start dying off until late '80s, correct?
Everybody was open clubs. There were more clubs than comics.
Yeah,
so
that's excellent.
The money was stupid big.
Really,
I didn't belong on any stage.
Yeah,
but yet here I was making a living.
And you were a road comic, right? Almost in 3 years.
Straight to the road. Yeah.
Yeah. And how far would you go out? Even in those days, like so even after '82 and a few years in, how far would you go out? Would you do Texas? Would you go all the way west? Would you go?
Oh, coast to coast.
Yeah.
Coast to coast.
Did they have some of those triple runs already by then? Did they have any like stuff like that where you're going up to Montana? Did you have any gigs like that? Are you doing Upper Peninsula?
I did triple runs, but I don't think I did them till the 90s.
To the 90s?
I don't know when they. Yeah, I wasn't doing triple runs until the 90s, so I don't know when the triple runs started. I did. Here's a great story. I met a guy that felt that his way to fame was to ride a bicycle to all his gigs.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like some shit they would do now. I don't know, like then who would even find out about that? You do like what? You get a write up in the local newspaper. Well, I guess if you're going to every town where they go, you're getting a write up on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and and everywhere. I met him in Portland, Oregon, and I met him in Key West.
Oh my God, that guy's riding his bike everywhere. Well, you got to respect his game, I guess. He's dedicated. He's seen an angle, but you'd have to like doing that. But dude, to think that he's riding a bike there, fuck that, dude. Could you imagine that you ride up on some of these hell gigs and you're like, dude, I fucking rode a bike for 300 miles to get here.
I've driven 300
That's what I'm
miles
saying.
in the sleet to get to a gig and
right.
not enjoy it a second.
Driving in it, let alone riding a damn Schwinn or a Huffy. That's ridiculous.
It was a Schwinn. It was a Schwinn bicycle. I gave him a sponsorship. They paid for his bike and tires.
Yeah. Dude, so during the comedy boom, did you see? I assume there was like great comics because there's more comics, and then was there a lot of bad comedy? Did you see a lot of bad comedy then?
There was something that came up that we called cover comedy, or at least I did.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
it's just like you would go to a Holiday Inn lounge and you'd see a band that you've never seen before, but they're doing songs you know.
Yeah,
you would see the same thing. You'd go to a Holiday Inn lounge, you would see a comic that you never heard of before.
A lot of Dice Clays, a lot of probably type things, right? And maybe, well, it's even later, like Kinnison type dudes, Bill Hicks type guys. I'm sure, like they're doing the greatest hits of everything.
Those were the Bill Hicks and the Kinnisons. I mean, they were totally unique in the industry. I mean, they did not. They really did.
But I'm saying like guys that were trying to do that type of stuff. Then is that what you're saying? Like they're almost doing
not a lot of guys were, because that's not where the money was.
Really?
Where the money was selling drinks. And getting the crowd,
Yeah.
It's one club owner told me once. I said, why are they handing out free passes at a laundromat?
Yeah.
And he said, because nobody drinks like white trash.
Yeah.
Because white trash will buy drinks before they pay rent.
I just did a showcase. Yeah, I just did a showcase here on Thursday. It was my first Thursday showcase that I kind of had to promote for and stuff, and it's kind of a nightmare. There's only I handed out 1,000 tickets and 36 people showed up, like in this whole area. And I literally went door to door at these stores, and I remember there was a couple laundromats I'd walk up on, and I said, "Fuck that, I'm not going in there," because they look pathetic, dude. Even now, this is 2019. I look at them, I go, "These people are fucking broken in here,"
Well, with China sending us washing machines, I mean, you got to be pretty damn poor not to have your own washing machine, dude, nowadays.
Yeah, but I literally last week I was handing out free tickets, and I looked at. I haven't been. Oh, dude, you know what? I went. The last time I was at a laundromat was probably 10 years ago on the north side. It was gross. I used to go to a laundromat on the north side where it had roaches in the washers. Like you'd wash your clothes and like throw them in there, and they go, "There's dead roaches in there." You go, "This place is screwed." So then that's it. So then you were a Detroit guy. You're ripping it up on the road, and then how do you put your sights on Chicago? Like, how does that happen? Do you just start doing a lot of gigs here, and you start noticing that?
Well, Chicago. Just I sat down with another comic. I can't remember, and I'd have to sit down and count. I don't remember the exact number, but we sat down and we figured out that there was somewhere around 70 full-time rooms within
Jesus.
a 2-hour drive of Chicago.
Right.
And I mean Tuesday through Sunday.
That's
or Monday
wild.
through Saturday.
Paid gigs too.
Yeah. Paid
Yeah.
yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know the exact number, but there were a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, could have been 40, could have been, but I
Sure,
I
whatever.
seem to-
It was
yeah.
a lot like that. That's a lot. 40's a lot, man. Within 2 hours.
Right. And I realized, you know, I could actually have a home.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I would not have to, you know, at the time I was just living, you know, eating all the meals off the front passenger seat of my car.
Oh my God.
And you know, my home was, you know, the answering machine I kept at my parents' house.
Really? So
yeah,
you were just you were on the road the whole
On the
time.
road,
You're like
yeah.
a truck driver. You're over the road, man.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And how many years do you think you did that for?
Well, I did that from about 82 to 86.
Oh my God! You must have got so strong, dude. That must have.
Then I came to Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, you must have got so strong, dude, being on the road that much, right? I mean, but you're doing shit rooms too, though, right? I mean, you're doing some
Yeah.
rooms where you go, this shouldn't even be a room.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. It's more like back around the turn of the century that they would bring in a prize fighter into town to see,
Mm-hmm.
and they would challenge people. Go 3 rounds with a town tough and take home $100.
That was real? That's real?
Yeah.
That sounds like a lawsuit now. Like, you couldn't even do that.
Right. But that's what comics, that's what we were doing, is essentially they were bringing in the professional comic,
Yeah.
and they would see if he could go head to head with the biggest heckler and
Yeah.
And that's
Really?
Oh yeah, that's what some of the rooms were. It was
Dude,
like-
I've heard stories like, because, I mean, well, it was towards the end right there where you were getting in it, but like, I've heard there was like discos that would have like, you know, like a dance place where they're dancing and they would have comedy like right there. And then as soon as you're done, they'd kick on the music. You ever do any like hell gigs like that? You ever do any?
there was a place here in town where they stopped the music at 4 a.m.
Oh my God.
and did a show.
Jesus.
Because I think it was one of those places that had a 24-hour liquor license, but they had to, for a half hour they had to take the liquor off the table. So from 4
What
to
a stupid rule. I get it, but it's like, what are we doing here? This is ridiculous.
so to keep people there, so that during the lull, they would do comedy from 4 a.m. to 4:30.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Just to keep people there and stuff like that. And it's like,
that
pushing
was,
pause.
That was one I never
Dude,
did.
4 a.m. in the
Yes.
doing comedy?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
To people that are waiting for the liquor to start getting served again.
And they're either super rowdy or they're super just fucked up. And at the end of their,
Yeah, there were a lot of gigs too. They wanted to get people there early, so they would have a comedy show right before they started doing the disco.
Yeah.
It was a way, at that point we were essentially the meatballs on the happy hour
Yeah.
buffet at that point.
Yeah.
It was,
Any rough rooms like over the years that you remember where you're like, dude, this room's like got me on my toes. You ever have any stuff like that?
Yeah, there was a couple. I got beat up. I got beat up outside a room in Maryland.
You got beat up outside of a gig?
Yeah, a couple Marines. Yeah.
Marines beat you up?
It was my fault.
Why? What do you think in a nutshell? Why? Because you said some smart shit back to them or something like
yeah.
that, and they were like, we ain't having that.
Yeah. It's I had long hair at the time. They're like, "When the last time you got a haircut?"
Yeah.
And I go, "Probably about the last time that you visited the dentist or read a newspaper."
Oh my God! What town was that?
That's Maryville.
Oh my God,
yeah,
Maryville, Indiana, man,
that was
right
not
over
far
the
from
border
there.
of
Yep.
Chicago. How much longer did it take for you to go back to? Do you ever do that gig again?
Oh God, yeah.
It's not like those guys would be back
that
back
was
there again, like
no,
waiting
that was
for
actually
you.
that was actually a great gig.
Yeah.
It's leveled now. The entire hotel.
Yeah, that's the
club.
that. What was that? The Star? What was that place called?
Yeah, Star Theater.
Yeah, the Star Theater.
Hotel.
Yep.
Star, yeah.
And it was
all-
Wisecrackers. I did Wisecrackers about maybe 8 to 10 years ago. Is the one I did there, but they had a room there. But you're talking about you did the big room.
No. I did do the big room. I opened for several bands there. Yeah.
No shit. What bands would you open for like there? Do you remember those bands?
Foreigner.
You opened for Foreigner? What year was that?
REO Speedwagon.
Hold on. What year was Foreigner? Because dude, I heard Foreigner
That was
right now
that was
barely has any members.
It was like the 90s.
But dude, that's when Foreigner was still fucking. Dude, I remember.
No, they had downsized because it wasn't an arena.
Yeah.
They had downsized from their arena side.
Yeah, but dude, they were huge. I remember when when did Jukebox Hero come out? That was fucking huge, man. I was a little dude then. That was probably 83, 84, something like that, 80, something like that.
But that was actually the first comedy club I did in the Chicago area was in Maryville. They had been doing comedy. They did comedy there for like probably close to 30 years at least.
Wow. And now there's nothing there.
Nothing. It's leveled.
Yeah.
It's leveled.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Do you think rooms are? Do you think more rooms are closing now, or do you think there's just more independent rooms now, where it's like, there's not so much comedy clubs. It's just some
It's two-tiered. You've got the actual clubs, and they're all corporate now. They're all
Funny Bone,
300 seat,
Improv,
nice and shiny.
Yeah,
full service menu available.
And I feel like they're going through all the same booker or something, because on every calendar, and I know, the funny people are going to be on those calendars, but dude, you'll see certain clubs where it's just like they're the same comic at every club. They must have the same booker or something like that, or it goes to the same agent or something.
It's all their managers and agents.
Yeah.
It's the clubs. Clubs deal directly with the agents, and it's hard to get booked in them if you're not with the agency. So,
what other bands you open up for? Because how is that opening up for a band, dude? Because is that crowd like they're like, what the fuck's this guy doing?
At that point, they were already, they were no longer in the arena mode.
Yeah,
they were already, they had downsized.
Yeah, they're doing back down to clubs and stuff like that, which is crazy.
Yeah, so it was a theater, so it wasn't nonsense. There wasn't There wasn't pot being smoked in the room.
Really?
And stuff. It was pretty tame. Yeah, it wasn't.
REO Speedwagon, was that the same concert?
No, that was actually different. There were two different shows there.
No shit. Are you excited? Like somebody like me, like even now, if I had to open up for Foreigner, I'd be calling all my family and going, I'm opening up for Foreigner. There's no original members. No, Mick Jones isn't in there, man. But at the time, are you excited about that?
No, at the time I was a little bit of a smart ass. So for me it was like total irony.
Yeah.
Can you believe I'm open for Foreigner? God,
right.
I can't believe that they're. What are they still making records?
Yeah. How long did it take you to headline? How long were you featuring out there for? Were you featuring just for a few and then boom, you started headlining? Because dude,
no, I started emceeing. They used to actually pay MCs. They used to pay MCs well.
Really?
This is the interesting thing. The money I used to make emceeing.
Yeah.
When I moved to feature, it was the same money.
Really?
And when I moved to headline, it was the same money. So
really?
It never changed.
Because then it just got thinner, then, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I made I moved up the ranks, but I stayed. The money was exactly the same. But when I first started, headliners were making stupid money. Yeah, unbelievable stupid money. Yeah.
What year was that? So you're saying 82 when you were starting out, 83, 84. The money was stupid. Like what? They're making like $1,500, $2,000. Because that's obviously
Keep going.
Really, even more than that. They're making $2,000-$3,000.
5 digits.
Wow.
For nobody, for somebody that you'd never heard of.
So they were cleaning up. People were cleaning up.
Oh yeah, it was because it was supply and demand, and also here's a little dirty secret of the our early club business. A lot of clubs had washing machines in the back.
Why?
Well, throw another load of 20s in.
Oh, so you're saying they're laundering and shit through those things, huh?
Yeah, cocaine was really popular at that part of.
Yeah.
So
was coke? They always hear those stories, but did you see a lot of drugs going around in the early '80s and stuff like that at the doing comedy and at the clubs?
Yeah, because a lot of clubs would encourage comics to do it because they had more cocaine than money. So.
You hear those stories on like Lenny Clark type stories where like clubs were trying to pay you with coke.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, or they would.
Could you imagine? I can't imagine that, dude. What a world. That's what's crazy about this world now. How everybody feels like they're in danger and it's such a dangerous world. And then you just go back so many years, and even with the Me Too thing, dude. I've always said, it's not a good excuse, but like I've always said, the road gets creepy. Like when you're on the road, it gets a little creepy, man. You're out there drinking, it's nightlife, you're hanging around nightlife type of people, and Louis C.K. things are gonna happen. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that that's what it should be happening, but to act like that shit doesn't happen when you mix in, nightlife, drugs.
Here's the thing. It's okay, Louis C.K. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear a famous comic masturbated in front of two younger comics?
I know.
Really? Who was it? Doug Stanhope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Stanhope.
Right. Isn't that weird?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's weird.
Nobody would. If it was Stanhope, it wouldn't have been a thing.
I know.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's Stanhope. He does that sort of thing all the time.
What is that? Is that because in all those, Doug Stanhope is a giant comedian and he has a lot to lose. Is it because Louis has more to lose, or it's just that wasn't really Louis' image? Like do you think people, because they thought of like Louis as like a father and like a Hollywood guy, and also he has more power for some reason? They're always and I get it, you should pay attention to the power, but they're always like aware of this, you have power, so that's something different, like they're holding it over your head. But to think that some comic is jerking off in front of other comics and stuff, like, comics do creepy, people do creepy shit. And to think that even people that aren't comics aren't doing creepy shit.
I saw James Inman doing it.
Yeah, James Inman, right? Wow, no kidding.
He goes, come on, we're going to the peep show. It's like, I don't know, James. No, come on, I'll buy.
Where do you go to a peep show at?
This was a few years ago.
Oh, just a few years ago even, huh?
Well, 10, 20.
Yeah, that's a few. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And so he gives me a handful of quarters, and we go over there, and he gets a booth right across the viewing area from me.
Oh my God!
And it's like, is he? Oh,
yeah,
he is.
Yeah.
Right in front of me.
It's crazy. I mean, I guess we shouldn't be that hung up on it, but I don't want to watch another dude jack off that's like my buddy or somebody I know.
No.
But I do understand how that's not a big deal to them where they just do that. But I remember when I was a kid, man, my mom and my stepdad, they went to New York and they came back and I would hear them as a kid talking to other adults how they went to the peep shows where the same thing. You put the quarters in there, the fucking the wall thing goes up.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That's what it was?
Yeah.
And there's a real woman behind there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of that's why I wanted to see it. I knew. Yeah, that can't last much longer.
Yeah,
and once webcams became popular, there was no.
Yeah,
need for
you don't
that.
need to leave. You don't need. But isn't there something cooler about just? I mean, going to a place where I get it.
Yeah,
you don't have to leave your house. That's pretty cool that you don't have to leave your house. But that's kind of cool that there's a place where you can go and you put tokens or quarters in there, and a fucking thing goes up, and then it goes back down, and then you put more quarters in it.
Yeah, and you can decide whether you want the girl to be able to see it or not. They have.
Really?
Yeah, you can have private or public, where she can
see
you.
The girl sees you.
Where she can see you, or just a mirror.
Whoa! Yeah. No kidding, man.
And I could see Inman, but on the other side.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, that's hilarious, dude. So with comedy, man. I mean, you've seen it change so much, then, man. What were some of the best years were in those 80s? What were some of the worst years for comedy and so far in your career, man? I mean, what were like years where it was like, whoa, it got a little rough out there?
Early 90s.
Early 90s, because then the comedy boom, the bubble popped and it was coming down, huh?
That was the crash. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's my joke is the only one. It's an inside joke. The only one who made money in comedy in the 90s was Kinko's.
Yeah. Right, because they're all the fucking comics
printing up the free passes.
Yeah. Really? They're just paper and rooms and shit, huh?
Paper and rooms, and every room and all these rooms, they all thought that they'd be the one that would survive, and they just they all went on a hope and a prayer for most of the 90s, and then when the recession hit, they just all like overnight.
No kidding.
Overnight, it went from probably 500 clubs nationwide to less than 100.
Oh my God!
Overnight,
and then all those comics. That probably shook off a lot of comics, right? Where they just go, "Fuck this! I'm going to go sell siding and get back into something else."
Yep. And then the next big shakeup. The next big shakeup was the 2007 recession.
Yeah.
It's But in the meantime, the whole mic thing, in this century, the whole open mic thing in Chicago and other places just exploded.
It did, right? And then there's towns you would never thought would have a scene, and they had a scene. Minneapolis, and then you have like Cincinnati, and then you have like towns that you would never.
Minneapolis has always had a scene.
Always had great comics.
Cincinnati's always had a scene. Yeah, Cincinnati was kind of parallel with Detroit. They started about the same. They started doing it about the same time.
Really?
So yeah, Cincinnati always had a scene, but I mean like the second level towns like Peoria, and Grand Rapids, And originally, when I started doing it, they would pay you to go to those towns because
they didn't have any locals.
Yeah, it's now. Every one of those towns has a scene.
Yep. Yeah, isn't that weird? That's that's just the way it is now, I guess, right? With the internet, people look at it and they go, "I can do that," and then they can figure it out. You get your hand held a little bit more through it and stuff like that. I think. Yeah, I know you. That's exactly. I noticed that also because like Madison, Wisconsin has like a scene now.
Sure.
But like 10 years ago, there was probably 3 comics there. I feel like maybe 4 or 5 comics. I mean, it didn't feel like a lot.
Yeah, and like one guy, like the one, like the town MC, and then they would still bring in features and headliners. Now they're probably just bringing in headliners.
Yeah,
they probably pretty much already have their own local features. I mean, when I came to Chicago, there was probably, I've said this a couple times, there's probably maybe nationwide, 200 comics tops.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah. Now Madison probably has 200
That's
comics.
absolutely. I mean, that's crazy. You're thinking nationwide. There is, if you were doing a good guess, 200 comics.
200 comics. Yeah, and that's including the open micers.
Yeah.
That's including the people that are doing the $25 sets at Comedy Castle.
Yeah. And comedy, dude. I never think about this, but comedy was much harder then because now people can watch the internet and go, oh, I see what they're doing there. They got all this catalog of comedy, and then they could bring their version of that to that. Dude, you in '82. How many comics were before '82 even? Like if you're talking from whenever stand-up comedy jumped onto American scene to '82, I mean, fuck, how many comics were there then?
Yeah, it was pretty
175?
You didn't really have that ability to study it. Like
you didn't have a
now.
ton of catalog, man, of like, oh, this is how you do it. Oh, this is how I do it. So you guys were...
But then again, people would laugh at the same jokes every week, though. So
so that's what you're saying about,
Yeah, you had a lot of comics sharing an act. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit. You did radio for a couple years, right?
Yeah.
How is that? Is that because that sounds like a good job, but then it's like a lot of things. When you get the job, you go, I don't know. It's not that. I mean, is it fun? Was it fun doing radio?
Radio is a lot like comedy, only at rather than being in a crummy little town for a week, you're there for 6 months.
Really? Yeah.
It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same deal.
But do you feel like you're restricted on what you could talk about and stuff like that? Did you feel like you were chained always to the same kind of thing where you're?
That doesn't bug me.
That doesn't bug you, huh?
I don't mind working within parameters.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No shit, man. But you didn't want to get back into that because I thought, like, dude, you're so fucking smart, dude. I know podcasting's where it's now, but you never wanted to chase like more radio jobs over those years.
Yes and no. I mean, it's kind of it's a kind of a dying art form.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people don't even. I think a lot of kids don't even know what that what that button on the side of the clock does.
Yeah, I know. I know. You're right. It is dying, right?
It's what's really funny is to see radio stations trying to capture that 25 to 50-year-old market. It's like,
dude,
man, you guys, it's gone. You're never gonna get it back.
I just seen a commercial last night or the day before where they go, Conan's now, although that's television, but Conan's down to a half an hour now.
Yeah.
And they name what he is. Like Conan O'Brien, he's a podcaster. He's a this, he's a that. So that was the first thing they said. So now they're trying to pivot putting Conan on podcasting now because that's where...
Yeah, it won't be
long.
It won't be long
at.
before the television networks or the television affiliates and the radio stations start selling their frequencies to sell.
Absolutely, right?
To sell companies.
Really?
It's right around there.
Yeah, because it's all collapsing, dude. Isn't it crazy to think that...
A friend of mine lives in Norway. She said that they don't have an FM band anymore.
What?
Yeah.
FM?
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
I could be wrong, but I think she said they sold the FM band to the cell companies.
Well, wasn't AM before FM?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
The thing with AM though, it's because it's a lower frequency. One station can, WLS in Chicago at night goes all clear across the country. So, I mean, that's why AM has its popularity there, I think.
Dude, you're talking technology that I didn't even know that was a real. I just thought they're both the same. I just thought they were both the same. I didn't know there's like I never heard those words before, man. Really?
What, frequency?
Yeah, frequency. I just thought AM, FM, it's the same thing. I just thought it was marketing where they're like, no, AM's for like talk radio and boring shit and religious and.
Well, it's also a different modulation of the frequency they put the voice onto the frequency in a different fashion, which is why lightning will you can hear it on AM, lightning and like static and stuff like in power drills.
Really?
Whereas FM is real clear.
If
you're a fan of the Doobie Brothers, no static at all.
Yeah.
FM.
That's what that is? That's what they're talking about?
Yeah, that's no static.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
By the frequency.
That's awesome, dude. No shit. Well, Tim, I just wanted to pop your cherry on this, man. I'm so glad you fucking sat down with me. Tell the listeners your podcast. You also have a podcast that's on iTunes.
Yeah, I've got a Rule of Three with Tim Slagle and Ben Washburn. You have to go with Tim Slagle, otherwise you're going to see one of the dozens of other rules.
Yeah, that's what sucks about when you're naming podcasts. When you go, I got a great idea, and then you look it up and you go, oh my, or you already submit it and then you look it up and you go, shit. They already, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think what you want to do is you want to use the Apple password generator and like spell the difficult.
Oh, yeah?
Your podcast.
Yeah. Dude, my buddy, he wanted to do the wolf den, and I looked it up, and there's like 7 wolf dens. I go, dude, you want to do that, go right ahead, but there's like 7 wolf dens. You're going to get lost in the... And what's your social media, man? Like, you have an Instagram? Do you have a Facebook?
Yeah, I've got it all. Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
What's your Twitter handle? Is it Tim Slagle?
All Tim Slagle. Yeah.
Slagle?
Yep.
All right. Guys, Eric Pennell Comedy on Instagram. It's Bustin' Balls Podcast on Instagram. If you like the podcast, please share it. That helps out a lot more than just a thumbs up. I appreciate those too. And guys, thank you for listening.